Hello and welcome back to the House of the Stag podcast. We are once again joined by Josh from Constantine Films, and we're here to discuss episode 10 of House of the Dragon, The Black Queen. I did my review, so how did you guys like the episode?
I went in expecting it to be terrible because people have been saying it, and then I was like, they're overreacting a little bit. Daemon was pretty sus this episode, and I feel like some of they didn't give Jace some of the lines he's supposed to have, and also Jace beating the crap out of Luke was kind of out of character. I wonder what was going on there. But like, this is not like the worst thing that's happened, as people are saying. All right, this is fine, and I'm fine with the change they did to Aemond. Like, Dany lost control over her dragons. This kind of stuff happens because it's like it's kind of a telepathic link. Because what you're saying and deep down, like what you want, it's probably not the same.
I really liked the episode, honestly. The thing is that the complaints people have with the episode aren't problems for me. As far as the episode itself goes, it just didn't do that much for me. So I give this episode like an 8 out of 10, mostly because of the last like 10 minutes, which were just outstanding. But like the rest of the episode wasn't bad. There was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't episode 8, for example. You know? Honestly, it was a great episode. I really liked it. The changes that they made to Aemond, at first I didn't really like it, and then I watched the episode and I thought about it a bit, and I actually really, really like the change. I think Ryan has he obviously knows what he wants to do with Aemond as a character. And if he wanted to make Aemond an all-out villain from the beginning, he could have done that 3 episodes ago, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And despite knowing what Aemond is going to do in the future, he chose to go a different route with him, which I can admire.
I feel like people's problem with Aemond was like in context of the other decisions they made, right? It's like because Allison had this accident, mishearing Viserys, and then Kristen accidentally killing this guy and killing that guy. Just too many accidents. But as of like the action itself, this particular accident, it was perfectly fine. It's just too many coincidences or whatnot.
Also, I think it's less of an accident and more so unintentional. It was like Aemond didn't want to kill Luke, but he's still 100% responsible for his death, right?
Yeah.
Aemond didn't kill Luke, Vhagar did, but Aemond is still the one responsible. So as far as Aemond's character, a lot changes. But as far as the story goes, nothing changes, which is why I like it. It's like, to me, it serves as Aemond's arc, and I think like my theory is that Aemond is gonna tell people that he did it on purpose.
Yeah,
I feel like that's gonna be because like he's gonna get there, and rather than trying to tell people that it was an accident, which doesn't seem like something Aemond would do because that makes him appear weak, which is the last thing Aemond wants. So I think like he's gonna pretend like it was on purpose, and everyone's gonna hate him for it. Meanwhile, they both just lost control of their dragons. And also, like, on the dragons a bit, like, as you said, like, that is something that happens, right? And also because they are literally, like, ancient, magical, huge beasts. So, like, considering everything, considering the fact that, like, the dragons were, like, agitated and scared, Arax was scared, so he lashed out. Vhagar was fucking pissed as always, so she just, like, no, absolutely not,
It's quite interesting. I don't agree with everything you said, but let's break it down. I think Aemond, while yes, I get that this could be a very interesting thing, especially since you said they drew a roadmap and they know where the characters are going. And I think what happened in the season 1 was Rhaenyra, Alicent, and Aemond all were not supposed to reach the level they are immediately in Fire and Blood. They will likely in season 2 and season 3. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would have preferred it to see Aemond killing Luke out of spite. I like that they make an attempt to make the dragons more interesting because I spent weeks and months and probably years now saying that I'm just not really interested in those dragons in the TV adaptation. Not deep, it's just, nuclear weapons type shit, and them making an effort to expand on something that viewers were already fine with. Like, we gotta remember, the viewers are fine with just dragons being dragons, burning stuff, burning shit, looks cool on screen. Them making an attempt to make that interesting is very good, but sacrificing that moment, I don't know.
I feel like the thing is, though, in the books, he wanted the eye first, but the ultimate action was because the Baratheon daughter was like, "Did your
Yeah,
balls drop
I'm
off?"
I'm kind of pissed they cut that. Like I was kind of like, oh man, that was kind of because that's what forces him to go out is being humiliated in front of everyone, right? Because she's like, oh, did he take your balls as well as your eye?
Yeah,
And then she's like, oh, I'm glad you chose my sister because I want a husband with all his parts. And then
Yeah.
he's like, okay, I'm not gonna let that slide. And then he just goes out. But also, we don't know what Aemon's intentions is because it's not POV. So we know Aemond kills Luke. But here's the thing for me, right? The reason I like this change, for the show at least, is because in the show, we have seen that, like, as Aemond said, he studies history and philosophy, and he trains with the sword, and he rides the largest dragon in the world. So Aemond is not an idiot, right? He knows the consequences of killing Luke in that moment, right? And I don't think in the show, at least, the show version of Aemond, that Aemond wants to be known as a kinslayer for the rest of his life. He
Will
knows
be,
that it's going to cause...
regardless.
Yes. Yeah, no, he will now, but that wasn't his intention, obviously. So
Yeah.
Aemond knows that this is going to cause a war, and he knows that he's going to be literally shunned for the rest of his life, which he's already dealt with because of his, obvious disability. So for the show, at least, I like the change.
I think
Yeah.
it's not a bad decision. I don't think this is completely bad. I don't think it ruins the character like some people on Twitter. I just think it would have been fine for him to kill Luke out of hate. That still would have made sense to me. That still would have been the layered character. He took his eye. They made an effort to show that Luke was smiling at Aemond and that they bullied him. So while you couldn't really justify it, it would still be a terrible act. It would not be perceived as like biggest hate crime in the world, you know? And yeah, we will see how season 2, how season 3 will go. The dragon plot, I think they will likely expand on the dragon seeds plot. But yeah, it's not groundbreaking. Like, don't get me wrong, it doesn't ruin Aemond for me. But still, having said that, everything that happened to him in the first couple of episodes, him being layered, I think it would still be okay for him to kill Luke here, wanting to kill Luke. And I guess what happened was he, like George said in the beginning, they are telepathically connected. It was all about their emotions. Arex felt how frightened Luke was, and then he defended his rider when he spat fire at Vhagar. And Vhagar obviously felt the rage that Aemond had. And then Arex spitting fire on Vhagar is probably like the last straw. I get it. Still would have preferred him. For him to be a murderer, like straight up, I would have liked that.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I definitely understand that. But like for me, when I look into the future and I think about how complex his character could become, like, with Cheeseburger and everything like that, like all that happens because he was being fucking stupid, because he was playing around with this 180-year-old nuclear weapon and he was being dumb and he's going to pay the price for it, or not he necessarily, but I think his family, but also on that as well, I think that that's going to have a huge effect on him because we've seen in these few episodes that Aemond really does care about his mother at the least, if not Helena and Aegon as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not Aegon. He's loyal to Aegon, but he doesn't really care for him. But he does care about Helena and Alicent. So for those two to grow disdain for Aemond is going to ruin him, I think.
My argument here would be that this would have happened either way. When he would have killed Luke out of hate, he still would have felt very badly, probably, when Blood and Cheese happens.
Sure. But I think this being a direct consequence of him playing around is going to make him more serious and take the war more seriously, Because if it's him killing him, that's Aemond making a decision, right? If he decided that he's going to kill Luke, he thought through the fact that it's going to cause a war. He thought through the fact that he's going to be known as a kinslayer, and he made that decision anyways. Whereas it being an accident is sort of like him making a mistake and paying the consequences for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, I like the version the show did as well. And especially down the line when it pays off, if they really go somewhere with this, then I think it may be a good change. So George talked about Daemon in the beginning, about you not really liking what they did to Daemon in this episode. What do you mean exactly?
I mean, the choking was unnecessary, but Daemon's take, his opinion of Viserys was perfectly justified, because that's what Daemon thinks of Viserys as, weak and just into his own little hobbies.
I think Daemon is someone who doesn't know what to do with his emotions. I don't think he processes emotions like most people, you know? So we've seen that usually Daemon's first response to anger is violence, right? Like when he got the message from Viserys, he beat up the messenger. When he's provoked or he's angry, violence is usually how he expresses it. And in this moment where he chokes Rhaenyra, he's lost his brother, he's lost his daughter, and now he thinks Rhaenyra is fucking with him, right? Because he doesn't know about the prophecy. And also I think he sees Viserys now in Rhaenyra.
Definitely.
Because the inaction that Rhaenyra is displaying is sort of putting him back in that place, that frustration that he experienced with Viserys. You know, so I think in this moment, he just doesn't know what to do with his emotions. The thing is, Daemon is an inconsistent character. He's chaotic. So I think sometimes we might expect some sort of chaotic consistency with Daemon, but that's just not what we're going to get. You know, he's inconsistent and his emotions are inconsistent and his reactions to experiencing emotions is also inconsistent. So I think in this moment, it works, you know?
I think so as well, honestly. Like you just said, I think he saw Viserys and Rhaenyra in that moment when she was considering peace, and I think it goes even further. Like when she's talking about the prophecy, I think Daemon realizes in that moment that his brother never truly considered him being true heir to the Iron Throne. He was always just a placeholder for when Viserys finally gets to have his male heir. Yeah, it's a combination of things, and I think that is definitely the Daemon that I expect in the House of the Dragon.
Yeah, also because not even just that, but Daemon isn't a good person.
No.
Right?
No.
Daemon is not a good person. He's a gray character, which means he's not good or evil. That doesn't mean he's a good person and a bad person. Gray characters are usually bad people. They're just not straight up villains, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would argue.
From a storytelling perspective.
Yeah, people considered him, which was very weird. People considered him to be this like good guy, this good family-caring man. When in reality, so far, even before this episode, he was one of the most evil characters in the show. I was surprised when I saw how angry they were about that scene. Because if you had any problems with him at this point, I think your problem should be he's too evil. Not that that from all of a sudden he makes this like,
yeah,
he chokes Rhaenyra. It makes so much sense for the character House of the Dragon went for so far. Like my complaint here would have been that Daemon doesn't show emotions. They even went as far as cutting that scene at the beach. They cut that scene with Baela and Rhaena. They don't let him show his emotions. They don't let him just be at peace for a second.
The scene at the beach isn't cut. It's just way shorter.
Yeah, way
shorter. Use a lot of there was like 3 shots. I think they should have shown that more. Yeah, but yeah.
It's weird, but again, it's all subjective. Like, I get why people are such a fan of this character. He is very charismatic. Matt Smith is a great actor. Like, so far, they've given him the most, like, what is supposed to be a badass scene. They've given him most of that in this season. Like, that whole Stepstones episode, as much as it was about setting up the Stepstones for the later seasons, when we really think about it, it was just to give Daemon, his battle, his Jon Snow moment, his going on his own, and I'm fine with that. But if you had any problems, I think you should have a problem with Daemon being too evil.
Yeah, because he's done very, very messed up stuff, right? Even, I think in the book, it's even worse, maybe. It depends on how you look at it, because there's some stuff they didn't do and some stuff they did. Not only did he, like, murder his wife, but both in the book, in the show, he did groom Rhaenyra, right? That is a fact. Like, it's textbook grooming.
Yeah.
He left her half naked in a brothel in literally in the middle of King's Landing, which he knows how dangerous that is for her. He knows the consequences of that. He vexed Viserys on a lot. He stole Balon's egg just for attention. He risks so many lives just for that, just to get attention. The amount of like emotional trauma that he's caused the people around him just so he could like have his fun is like very disturbing. And this isn't me like saying Daemon is the worst person ever, like he's so awful. I mean, he is, but he's still cool.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah, that's why we love him, is because he's so chaotic and you don't know what he's going to do next. But then also on the other side, you do also have moments in which he's not necessarily a family man, but not that Daemon. You also do have moments in which he's charismatic and he's just not the other side of that Daemon.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it in this episode. Those are kind of the two big things that people seem to talk about all throughout like the last couple of days, because obviously the episode leaked, and yeah, which is just baffling at this point. Like, how does this keep on happening every time?
I saw people on Twitter like saying that they leaked a fake episode. Like that's how bad they thought it was that they leaked a fake episode, and then they released the real one on Sunday. It was just like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
You don't spend like millions of dollars on like shooting different scenes and doing the CG and everything, and then just release it differently. That's not how that works. But the fact that people were so mad about that stuff is just wild to me.
Yeah, again, they were comparing it to season 8, and then I was just like, I might actually.
Yeah, people
delete
have
my
no
account.
idea how bad season 8 was.
Yeah, because they still think season 6 is the greatest thing to ever happen to mankind. It just had
Yeah,
two
they're like,
beautiful sequences at the end.
Mm,
I'd
yeah.
argue the best episode in season 6 is the one of Hodor dying. I genuinely enjoyed that episode. But apart from that, it was season 5.5. It was the same thing happening again. Everything stalled, and in the end, you had two big things that just were there to finally get to the end. Get rid of all the political drama in King's Landing. Bing, bam, boom, explosion. It was just there to rush to the end. Season 5, man, I'm personally attached because I'm like the biggest Stannis fan ever. George can agree. We had a lot of problems with that, and Dorne happened, but still, there were occasionally moments where I was like, okay, doesn't really feel as good as the earlier seasons anymore, but it's still okay. But season 6 dropped the bomb.
Season 6 was so painfully mid. It was so mid. The last two episodes, season 6, even the really, really good episodes have like pretty big writing problems, but like it's just very, very well made.
Yeah.
So the thing is, people don't care about good storytelling. They just care about like their favorite characters like winning. It's not
okay.
about
okay.
It's not. They don't care if Dawn gets completely scrapped and just the most atrocious dialogue gets thrown in the mix. As long as Jon is like named King in the North and Dany is like setting sail for Westeros, it's like the best season ever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, which is like, obviously you want your favorite characters, but yeah, that's not the point. But, you know, people don't actually care about good storytelling. It's just about, like, this is a good example for me. Because, like, this season, I mean, like, this season has been absolutely phenomenal. Like, there is, like, minimal problems with this season. And now, like, the very, very small minority who see Daemon acting in a way that they don't like are now, okay, this show should never have happened. This is like the worst thing ever. The show was a mistake, whatever, just because they don't like the way Daemon acted. No, because it's not about the greater season for them. It's just about this character.
I feel like the weakest character in the show is probably Rhaenys. She's my least favorite. She's all over the place.
Yeah,
and
I'm very disappointed by the way they've done Rhaenys so far. Just sad because she's such a great actress. I mean, it's perfect. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah. And my favorite part of season 6 was Edmure, even though they did him wrong too.
Riverrun was great.
I feel like that scene really carried. Like his conversation with Jaime, even though the dialogue is still wrong, but he did his best.
It's so telling. Like, immediately about, like, when you said Edmure, I was like, I remember genuinely enjoying this in the mess of all of that.
Edmure carried season 6. Yeah. Even though that scene was still
scene at the 10th. But to get back to House of the Dragon season 1, I get the perspective of a casual viewer who didn't really understand the time jumps. That was always going to be a problem in this time period with all of the characters. But still, I get it for the casual audience. And I get it for the absolute Song of Ice and Fire hardcores. I get that. But for me, I don't consider myself a hardcore A Song of Ice and Fire fan, rather than just a big, huge fan of the world that George created. Like, obviously, I love the book series. I've read it twice, and coming from this place where, like, season after season, you were just disappointed in the way they handled the themes of A Song of Ice and Fire, and now you get something that really respects it, that really plays with it, and I don't know.
The only things I dislike about this season, if I had to, like, name a few things that I just, like, a few big things that I didn't like, it would probably be just that Rhaenys moment, which was dumb, and then The other thing I didn't like was Laenor escaping and Sea Smoke just staying there. I would have significantly preferred if Rhaenyra and Daemon had Laenor killed. I feel like that would have been a better choice, because making Rhaenyra and Daemon like do this whole thing where Laenor can escape and all that, it feels a bit like Disneyfied, if that makes sense. I didn't love that. I think they could have handled that better if they did the same thing.
While the show is trying to make this seem like such a great act of both of these characters, they killed an innocent man, you know?
Yeah.
So they were trying to make this seem like this honorable act, and oh my god, it's so wholesome. No, they killed a innocent servant. So once again, murderers.
I don't think they whitewashed Alicent and Rhaenyra. I think that's a very dramatic word for it, because I just don't think it's true. They still did bad things. However, the only thing I don't like as far as their characters are treated is that a lot of their ambition has been stripped from them. And I understand doing that to a degree, because I like the changes they made to Alicent so far a lot. I like the way they're going with her character, and that she's not like a cartoonish villain, like she is in Fire and Blood. Like Alicent in Fire and Blood is just the worst person ever. She's awful. Yeah. I really do appreciate the way they've gone with her character. However, I would have preferred if they gave Alicent and Rhaenyra a bit more agency and ambition, and not made them passengers in this war, because it really does feel like they are just along for the ride and not like they're the two main players here.
Just one thing to add about Laenor. I'm gonna disagree in the sense, like, I do appreciate there's finally a fake death. After all, we missed out on Mance and Stannis and all the baby swapping. I would like to see one of these. And although the consequences, like, they might have to get rid of Adam or figure some other thing out where, maybe Laenor comes back, fight and die in like Tumbleton or something, and then Adam shows up, whatnot.
So this is what they actually finally confirmed to us in this episode, is that Sea Smoke is on Dragonstone, on Driftmark, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he's riderless. So that's kind of weird to me, that Sea Smoke and Laenor aren't bonded anymore.
Oh, he's that Laenor can
just... Well, it doesn't...
Just, went away.
But just like me.
I know bitches.
Yeah, it's weird, because I think they're just gonna completely forget about Laenor. Honestly, I think they're just gonna forget about him, which is scary to me, because he can't be Adam of Hull, right? Because Adam is like 17.
Oh no, that's where it gets interesting. You see, them focusing so much on the Dragonborn stuff to the point where they changed that whole stuff with Aemond, while simultaneously not caring about Sea Smoke.
Yes.
That is a plot hole-erino.
Yeah, we'll see what they do. I mean, they might have an explanation for it. They might be like...
Let's try and find one. Let's try and find an explanation.
Okay, let's say Adam of Hull tries to bond Sea Smoke, but Sea Smoke is like not giving in for a very, very long time. Or like bonding with Sea Smoke is like significantly harder than the other dragons, because he's sort of still bonded to the Laenor, even though that's years ago, maybe.
George, your take.
I feel like they might try to bring Laenor back and have him die in battle, in glory.
Sure.
As he always wanted.
But how does Sea Smoke staying in Driftmark, riderless, even with all that focus on bonding with the dragons, make sense?
I don't know, man. Like, if you keep dragons in the dragon pits or lock them up, will they try to get out? Like when Dany locks up Rhaegal and whatnot, would they try to get out, or people have to let them out? That's the question.
As far as I understand, dragons on Dragonstone are never kept in captivity. That's why they usually grow way bigger, is because it's a volcanic island and they can roam free.
Yeah, they roam
around. That's my understanding, of that. When a dragon is on Dragonstone, they're not kept in captivity, because there's so much. It's like a whole ass island, and it's not very densely populated, so the dragons can sort of just chill around. But yeah, let's see. Honestly, there's a lot of ways they can go with that. Another thing I liked was Otto was kind of a G, bro. Like he's got some balls on him. Like the way he stepped up to Rhaenyra while he was like literally cornered by a dragon and like 20 good men. Like, I don't know. Despite Otto being an asshole and him not being very cool, I gotta respect him for like never backing down. Like, despite his flaws, he's not he's not a craven.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, dude, he's not. Like when
Yeah.
Damon is like Mummer's farce, he's like, "You used my spell against me, Potter."
Yes, I am a half blood
I'm
prince.
the half
We're
blood.
gonna have like an epic rap battle of history between Damon and Otto. They're just gonna start like quoting random A Song of Ice and Fire things. Like they're just gonna pull out the book and start like quoting. They're gonna do like Stannis' Proudwing speech, bro. They're like,
Yeah.
they're gonna throw stuff at each other.
Yeah, Otto is like, "I'll do you one better. Words are wind. We have the Iron Throne, and all you have
Mayhaps.
are words."
Mayhaps.
Mayhaps.
No, mayhaps this is a blessing.
Mayhaps this is a plus.
Sooner or
Mayhaps
late.
I'll kill your family, Otto.
It was weird though. Like they had Mummer's farce and all that Shakespearean talk, and then Rhaenyra just fucking starts talking modern, like "fuck you, you traitor." And then Daemon.
Although
fucking, like,
fucking
I
is a
know,
thing, right?
I know, but it was
It's
just a
fucking-
bit clunky. Like a
I
bit.
feel
I
like yeah, no, I agree. I feel like I feel like Ryan might have gone slightly overboard with the fuck. Like
Yeah.
there was quite a lot of fuck in this episode.
fucking fuck this fucking shit. I'm Negan.
I'm
And I
Negan.
do not appreciate you killing my man. Also,
Season 1 is over, and we've only seen like half a second of Mushroom, which makes me sad. I hope we're getting more next season. Not like a big role, obviously, but I just want him to have like 2 lines of dialogue.
yeah, they were afraid that it's gonna be too similar to Tyrion, I feel like. But Ryan did say that season 2 is gonna have a slower pace and it's gonna have more humor.
Yeah, but also I feel like him saying that there's going to be more lighthearted moments is sort of a very, very clear indicative that Mushroom's going to be in the show. But yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get him more next season. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
so to kind of wrap this one up, what do you think about season 1 of House of the Dragon as a whole?
I thought it was
9 out of
great.
10.
Yeah, no, I think it was really, really good.
Yeah.
I agree. Solid 9 out of 10. There was some problems, but it's nothing to me that like destroys the show. The problems are major, but they're also minor, you know? In the context of an episode, they're sort of major, but in the context of the entire show, I think they are absolutely minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think season 1 of House of the Dragon would rank right behind first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones for me personally, but I think it's so much better than season 5 to season 8 of Game of Thrones. And I think it definitely worked. A lot of the things that we have problems with are probably things that might come back, like, Sea Smoke coming back and stuff like this, and Aemond not being hateful right away, or Alicent not being hateful right away. What happened is they drew a roadmap, and it's probably gonna culminate in the later seasons anyway, and they're gonna be those characters.
Here's the thing. Season 2 and Season 3 are going to pop the fuck off.
Yeah.
They're going to be
Oh, yeah.
insane. It's going to be crazy. This is the season they could have fucked up the easiest, and they didn't. Because like the next 2-3 seasons are not very hard to adapt.
Yeah, they're drawn out.
I mean, obviously production, you know, as far as that goes, that's obviously always difficult. But it's as far as the writing goes, this has been the hardest part to adapt to a screenplay. So
Yeah.
and they've done a pretty damn solid job so far. So season 2 and 3, hopefully 4, is gonna be really good.
Because in Game of Thrones, as I said before, you don't have to literally go through Catelyn giving birth to fucking Robb, Bran,
Yeah.
Sansa, Arya, and Rickon, and all that, and they
Yeah,
have
we
to
didn't
deal
see
with it
Robert's
with the way,
Rebellion in Game of
the
Thrones.
story is structured. They just have to, because when Martin was writing Princess and the Queen, he didn't expect this to be television, so he's like, let me just add like 6 brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing, and the fact that HBO didn't cut down even Daron shows me like they do take this seriously,
Yeah.
and are not just trying to get a quick paycheck. Even if things go wrong, it's just because Ryan's take on some of the characters or storylines is a little different from our own, but that doesn't mean like he's a hack, as some people are suggesting. I'm just like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And also, I don't particularly like this excuse, but at the end of the day, most of the changes could be justified in saying that, oh, well, it's historical perspective and there's no real canon. I don't really like saying that for like the big stuff. But like for the
Yeah.
small stuff, I don't mind. You know, like some of the smaller changes, like Alicent and Rhaenyra being like childhood friends,
Yeah.
like those changes to me are very, very good. Obviously, you know, Rhaenys and the dragon pit and everything, that's a very, very clear mistake in my opinion. But
Yeah.
like the other stuff, I think Ryan has a vision for the show, and so far the changes that they've made have mostly been very, very good and rewarding.
Yeah, like they're keeping the most of the major events intact. They're just doing character work.
What did you guys think as Baratheon fans of Storm's End in this episode?
I think it looks good.
I think it looks great,
Yeah,
honestly.
it was
Yeah.
really, really good. Like, it was very grim, set the tone for what was about to happen. I said it in the review, but I really liked the focus of the camera in that scene. Like, it was very distant to Aemond, and still you could feel the terror, even though, you know, Luke was surrounded by knights, and I love that kind of visualization. And I think this was one of the most beautiful scenes ever.
I just
think
realized
also-
why Boros didn't invite them to stay. Because if you invite them to stay, there is a chance Aemon will sneak into Luke's room and then break guest right or whatever. But
Yeah.
if they're outside, you know, it's no longer my freaking
Yeah.
problem.
I'm,
The
I'm
manderly
actually,
way.
I'm actually surprised at how big they made Storm's End. Like, Storm's End is obviously big, but like in all the illustrations, it's not a very tall keep. It's pretty. It's like kind of flat and like it's big, but it's sort of flat and big and round. But like it's very tall, and I like that. And it's also like the outer bailey and everything. Like the castle is massive. It's really big.
So far, they've done all of the castles justice, especially Driftmark. I think that was done beautifully, and now Storm's End as well.
I
But
honestly, I don't think they should even try to stay close to Game of Thrones in terms of like castle design. Just go crazy, bro. Just go
yeah,
crazy.
like next season, Winterfell, like add some towers in the background, add some
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
make it look cool.
Yeah, they could always make the excuse that like they didn't need it to be this big. They made it smaller because there wasn't enough, you know, expenses to, you know, sustain the size or whatever. Anything like that. That doesn't diminish what we have in season 8.
Yeah, that is all we have for today. Thank you, Josh, for joining us for multiple episodes of our podcast during season 1. Guys, definitely check out Constantine Films. I think you're gonna be more busy now, aren't you?
Yes, I'm busy writing my next video. I'm going to be very, very busy in the next month, so it's probably going to take a while to come out, but I'm looking at mid-December. It's going to be a pretty big boy, so yeah.
Awesome. So definitely subscribe to Constantine Films. Thank you, George, as well. Take care, and see us later.
Elena is kind of thick. Look at those.
Yeah.
I'm down bad. Beware of my cock beneath the boards.
Oh, bro, I was not expecting that in any way, shape, or form. Out of nowhere, bro. Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Bro.
Just like Melis.
Out of nowhere.
She
got
is really pretty, though.